Hey everyone, and welcome back. If you've been following this channel, you'll know that I've been diving into tools that let you generate AI characters from just one image. In my last video, I took a deep dive into ByteDance's Infinite U. If you missed it, I'll put a link up here that you can check out. Today, we're looking at Tencent's offering, Instant Character. There's no doubt that this tech is genuinely impressive. However, considering that in the last 3 to 4 weeks, we've had ByteDance's Infinite U, Tencent's Instant Characters, Midjourney has released their own Omni character, as well as Triki's own character transfer abilities, we had no shortage of choices when it comes to creating characters with a limited set of images. And we have even gotten into creating LoRAs and fine-tunes. Well, if you're interested in knowing which is the best choice for you, I have a video coming up where I'm going to compare all of these options. So if you're interested, please do like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you know when the next video comes out. In this video, we're focusing purely on getting Instant Character set up, using it, and having a look at a few outputs. Now, Instant Character requires 24 to 45 gigs of VRAM, so I'll be covering options of how to use this on the cloud, but if you're lucky enough to have enough VRAM to make use of this, I'll have a local installation at the end of this video as well. I'll also do my best to cover installation and usage on ComfyUI as it's relatively straightforward. However, if I don't get to it, I will put out another video just like I did with Infinite U. So with that, let's get started. So like Infinite U, Instant Character is about taking the image of a character or person that you have and creating additional images for it, whether that's different angles or different art styles. And in fact, one of the really cool things about Instant Character that Infinite U doesn't have, at least with the default GRadio, is it can make use of LoRAs to change the style of your character while maintaining general character features and resemblance. We can see here an example of the character image, the output on Flux, and then a Ghibli and Makoto Shinkai LoRA, both of which I'll be covering in today's video. And we can see here a couple more examples of the same. So the easiest way to make use of Instant Character is to use my image generation platform, KaijuGen. Link down below in the description. KaijuGen is a little platform that I set up to consolidate all of the different AI models that I cover on this channel. I've got a huge collection of image and video generation models. To get to Instant Character, you can pick your model down here for set, whether you want an image or video model. Come on over here to the model selector and scroll down, and you'll see here is Instant Character along with Infinite U. I've also got other models like Imagen, Flux, HyDream, Flux, and even the GPT image generator. I'm always updating the website, and if you ever have any problems, just drop a comment on the KaijuGen support channel on my Discord, and I usually deal with issues within 24 to 48 hours. So once you've got Instant Character selected, you can come over down here to this little icon, and that opens up the advanced parameters. In here, we can set our image size. In this case, we're going to grab a 16:9 portrait. We can set the intensity of the reference image. In this case, I'm going to leave the scale to 1. We can apply a negative prompt, a specific seed, a guidance scale or CFG to determine the creativity of the model. We can set the number of inference steps. I typically recommend anywhere between 20 and 40. And then you can enable or disable the safety or NSFW checker. And finally, you can determine your output format, whether you want JPEG or PNG. Once you've done all of that, you can set up your reference image by clicking over here. And a really cool thing about KaijuGen is you can either upload your own image or you can pick an image from your library as a reference image. And a really cool thing that we've got here is a little character generator where you can come here, put in some parameters of the characters that you want to generate the character, and then use that as a reference for Instant Character. If you open up any of the images, we'll grab this one as a reference. You can click on the little link icon here, and that will copy the image URL to your clipboard. You can go ahead and just drop in that URL here, and then you'll see it'll pick up the image, making it really easy to reuse an existing image as a reference. All right, once we set that, we're just going to put here woman standing in the snow, and we're going to click generate. You'll see here a little notification when the generation is started successfully, and then a placeholder will appear here, and it'll update once the image is done. We can see it right here. I'm just going to do another generation since this one is a side view and doesn't really let us see the aspects of the character. In fact, I'll adjust it to portrait of. There we go. Okay, so if we just grab the two images here, we can look at them side by side. And we can see here from first impressions that Instant Character did a decent job at transferring over the character. We definitely see a lot of the same facial features. And one really cool thing about Instant Character is it actually transposed a lot of the clothing. And you can see here that the clothing is very similar. I will say, however, there is definitely a drop in quality. This definitely looks lower res than the source image and seems to be prone to some of the issues we've previously seen with Stable Diffusion or SDXL, which is surprising because instant character like Infinite U is built on top of Flux. I haven't had a chance to tweak too much of the parameters, but I would imagine that by either increasing the inference steps or adjusting the guiding scale, we can potentially get better results. We'll test that out in the next method, which is running the instant character GRadio on your own hosted instance. So you can see over here, this is the instant character GRadio, and I have it hosted on RunPod. Now, in case you don't know what that is, RunPod is a GPU rental platform where you can rent powerful GPUs for just a few cents or dollars on the hour. If for whatever reason you're not interested in using KaijuGen, you can spin up your own GPU and get access to the instant character GRadio. Now, I'll walk you through how to install it, and it will be the same steps to install it whether you're running it on RunPod or your own local machine, and we'll cover that at the end. However, if you want a quick and easy solution, I actually have a RunPod template, which I will share down in the description below. And when you click it, it will take you to a page like this where you can select your GPU. As I mentioned earlier, instant character needs about 45 gigs of VRAM. There is a way to bring it down to 24. They allude to it in the documentation. I haven't fully figured that out yet, but it has to do with CPU offloading. So I generally wouldn't recommend that for RunPod, as the CPUs on RunPod are not very powerful. You can grab any of these 48 gigabyte GPUs. They've got L40s, L40Ss, and even an A40 down here for 40 cents an hour. Now, while this might seem cheap up front, keep in mind that the worse or older the GPU, the longer each generation takes. So on a 40 cent per hour GPU, you'll be able to output less images than on an 86 cent GPU. What that ratio is, I'm not entirely sure. But once you've clicked on the GPU that you want, let's drag here this L40S, you'll see here the pod template is already set up with instant character. All you need to do is deploy on demand, and you'll get taken to a page like this with your pods. Go ahead and open it up, look at the logs, and it will take a few minutes to get set up. But once you see a log line that looks like this, running on local URL 00007860, you can click over here and connect and click on this 7860, and that will open up the instant character GRadio. Now, the GRadio has a couple of extra features that you won't see on the RunPod as of the time of this video, and that is the ability to load in a LoRA. By the time this video comes out, or shortly after, this feature will also be enabled on Flux. Now, I have this already set up to load in a couple of LoRAs. We've got here the Makoto Shinkai and Ghibli anime art style LoRAs. If there are any LoRAs that you want in particular, please let me know and I will add it to the installation. I'll also teach you how to manually install your own LoRAs after we look at the GRadio. So much like KaijuGen, it's very straightforward. You place your image over here. Let's go ahead and drop in the reference image. Type in here, portrait of woman on the snow. We've got sync parameters, so we've got character scale, guidance scale or CFG, inference steps, a seed, and we can randomize that. And we can set the number of generations and set a LoRA style. We're gonna leave it as none for now. Let's go ahead and generate. And when compared with KaijuGen, which just took a few seconds, this takes between 40 seconds to a minute per image generation. So you can see it is quite a bit slower. You will get less images per hour depending on the GPU that you use. Or you can run into errors like that where the GPU can sometimes time out. Let's try it again. Okay, there we go. It worked the second time around. And like before, you can see that the output image is very good. We've got aspects of the clothing carried over as well. And like in KaijuGen, there is definitely a slight loss in image quality when compared with the source image, but overall, it's a very good result, and it could definitely be enhanced with a little bit of upscaling. Now, let's have a look at how the LoRA applications go. This is what I'm really excited about. As I mentioned, these will also be available on KaijuGen by the time this video comes out. Let's ship up the Makoto Shinkai style and generate the image. And you can see a fantastic output. Now, as I mentioned earlier, what instant character does really well is it transposes the general likeness of the character and what they're wearing over to this whatever art style you choose. And this is a really good example of that. She's wearing the same outfit, the same hat, the same hairstyle, and you can definitely see a lot of aspects in the facial structure that are almost the same. let's try the Ghibli style. And there we have the Ghibli style. Now, I will say this particular LoRA, although it's labeled Ghibli art style, it doesn't quite get the mark in terms of the style. I think the ChatGPT Ghibli style is a little bit better, but it still did a very good job of turning this character likeness into this anime style image. Now, what if you want to install this manually, either on your own machine or a separate cloud-hosted platform? How do you go about doing that? Well, fortunately, it's relatively simple. Now, on my Patreon, I will have a automatic installer for this. For Windows, it'll be a back file. You just double click it and it will take care of all this for you, but you can do it manually as well. Before we look at how to install it, I'm just going to show you how you can add your own style LoRAs to the GRadio installation. Go back to your pods, click on connect, and hit this 8888 service. This will open up your Jupyter Lab. This is a user interface for your RunPod pod. Once you've got this open, go ahead to instant character. Then where it says LoRAs, go ahead and drop in your save tensors here. Make sure it reflects LoRAs and they should work. That's it. That's all you need to do. Super easy. So if you want to install it on your own machine, it is incredibly easy. All you need to do is open up your terminal. I have it here open on my Jupyter Lab, but you could open it as well on your Mac like so, or on your Windows machine terminal. Make sure you've navigated to the folder that you want to go to. You can do that several ways, either by typing in CD and the folder name or address that you want to go to, or on Windows, if you're in the folder you want, in your address bar at the top, just type in CMD and it will open up a terminal like this. Once you know what you want, type in git clone and go to the URL down in the description below for the instant character GitHub. Click on this code over here, grab this, go back to your terminal and drop in the URL and press enter. That will start the download for the instant character folder. You'll see a new folder in your destination called instant character. Once you're in instant character, go ahead and first create a virtual environment. If you don't know what that is a Python environment that contains all of its own dependencies installed, and so it doesn't mess with anything you might have installed in your system or with other AI apps that you have. And we're going to do that by typing in python-m ven, and that will create a virtual environment folder for you called vent in your instant character folder. Then if you're on Mac or Linux, you just type in source vent bin/activate, and that will activate the virtual environment. You'll see a little V and V here next to your terminal. If you're on Windows, you actually want to type in python-m ven. You just want to type in python-m ven. However, I might be wrong. You might want to double check that down below. I'll leave a link on where you can double check the Python virtual environment command for Windows. Once you're in your virtual environment, you're going to type in python app.py, press enter, and that will launch the GRadio as well as download any of the dependent models. That's it. Super simple. Doesn't get easier than that. Now, as I said earlier, I will have a simple BEP file where it takes care of all of this for you. It double checks that all of the models were downloaded and installed correctly. It's available on my Patreon, but it's one of the simpler installers out there. Once it's set up and installed, just like on the RunPod, you'll see a bunch of code come up in your terminal along with a 0000 URL, which you can command click or control click to open up GRadio in your browser. Next and finally, we're going to look at how to install and set up instant character on ComfyUI. This one could not be easy. So like instant character, I have a ComfyUI template, which again, if you find down below, which lets you get ComfyUI easily up and running on RunPod. However, the same applies whether you're using ComfyUI on the RunPod or you have it installed locally on your machine, assuming you have enough VRAM, of course. Like before, if you use the link, you'll be brought to this page. You can pick whatever GPU you want. Grab a 48GB VRAM one if you want. Come over here to edit template. Then come here to public environment variables, and you'll see a whole bunch of different items, including one for install instant character. Change that parameter to 1, and it will automatically take care of downloading and installing everything you need for instant character. Unlike GRadio, there is just one model you do need to install manually. However, on RunPod, that's taken care of for you. So go ahead and set the overrides and deploy on demand. And then like before, you'll be brought over to this pods page. Go ahead and click logs to see what's happening. And if you put 1 for any of the models, whether it's plus, instant character, and so on, it does take a couple of minutes as it needs to download and set up those models and nodes. But once it's done, you'll get a ComfyUI set up and ready to go. Now, because of the nature of ComfyUI, I do have it set up to use the latest ComfyUI version. So if for whatever reason it doesn't work, probably due to an update, customs broken, go in there and come by this port, let me know, and I usually fix it within the same day, at most 24 to 48 hours. So we can see here that the IP adapter model is loading here, which I'll show you how to install manually in just a moment. And there we go. After a few minutes of installation, you'll see here that the GUI is ready to go, and we can see here in the workspace that instant character is already installed. Let's go ahead and come back out here, click on connect, open up the 8188 service, and you'll get loaded into ComfyUI. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the workflow for instant character is incredibly simple, and to be quite frank, this is probably the worst way to use instant character. This is because for all intents and purposes, Tencent appears to be the only one to have released a wrapper, and it really is just a wrapper. Nothing is broken down, the nodes are not deconstructed, meaning that you can't combine this with any other nodes. You can put this into a workflow, so for example, we could add in an upscaler after this, or add on another workflow to the image, but you can't manipulate the latent in any way except for what is in this node. Regardless, we'll go through it so you understand what's happening here. Basically, we have the instant character generate node over here. And by the way, the workflow for this will be available down in the description below. It's a free workflow. It is hosted on my Patreon, but you don't need to pay anything to get it. It's a public post and available to everyone. So we've got the main node over here, instant character generate. This has all of our instant character parameters, just like we have on the GRadio and KaijuGen. You can specify the height and width over here, which you can't do on the other platforms. You can set the guidance scale, number of inference steps, your seed, whether the seed is randomized, and your subject scale, same as everything else. Then we load here our reference image with a load image, and we output a save image, which is our output. Finally, over here, you'll see an instant character load model. Over here in this big old text box, you need to put your HuggingFace API key. In case you don't know how to get that, head on over to HuggingFace, click on up here on the right, click access tokens, and create a new token. Make it read, give it a name, create a token, and you'll get a little pop-up here where you can select your token. Go ahead and copy that. Come back here to ComfyUI, drop in that API key, pick your instant character model, and this one will have to be installed manually, and go ahead and run, and this will go ahead and take care of downloading your Flux models, your Vade, and so on, except for the instant character model, which we'll have to do manually. However, that's taken care of on my RunPod template. So to install this manually, all you need to do is go to the URL down below, which is the Tencent instant character Hugging Face. And we want to download this model over here and place it in our ComfyUI models IP adapter folder, which you will have to manually create. This doesn't come default with ComfyUI. So whether you have it on your own machine or here on RunPod, go ahead and create a new folder, call it IP adapter, and put the model in there. That's all you need to do. Once you've done both of those things, make sure you refresh ComfyUI if you loaded this up before installing the model. Once you've done that, pick it over here, put your API key, click run, everything will download and it will start working. It doesn't get easier than that. Now, one of the downsides of using the ComfyUI wrapper is you don't get access to the LoRAs. As I mentioned earlier, on the GRadio, you can download and install your own LoRAs. I'm also bringing that capability to KaijuGen, so I will have a list of ready selected LoRAs that I thought might be fun. But I'll also have a space where you can just drop in the URL of a LoRA that you like, and we'll go ahead and use that in the generation. Unfortunately, on ComfyUI, even if I wanted to do that, there's no way of me doing that here, and I haven't seen anyone else release a wrapper that allows us to break down what's happening here. So unless that comes out, this is all you get. And that's pretty much it. I hope you found this video helpful. Instant character doesn't have as much going for it as Infinite U, but there are a lot of interesting use cases with this particular tool. If you did find this video helpful, please do like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And if you really want to help the channel out, please do consider supporting me on Patreon. I try and provide little extra goodies for you guys on there, like installers. In addition to the installer for Instant Character, I also have a local installer for InfiniteU, as well as WAN and a whole bunch of other AI tools. I also make slight modifications to a lot of these tools, like the Instant Character GRadio. You might notice that the version I showed you today is slightly different. And the same thing goes for WAN. I make some slight changes and improvements to the user interface, just making it a little bit easier to use for you guys. If you have any questions or problems with anything mentioned here, as usual, please do come by the Discord. I have various tech support channels, whether it's for KaijuGen or for anything discussed in the videos. I usually try and get back to you guys within 24 to 48 hours for any KaijuGen issues, and within the week for anything from the videos, as a lot of the times I get questions from older videos that get backlogged a little bit. Finally, if you want to really stay up to date with what's happening in the AI world and my videos, check out the link below for my website where you can sign up for my newsletter. I'm going to try to have a weekly to bi-weekly newsletter come out every 2 weeks with the latest AI news and a summary of the videos that have come out from the last newsletter. I hope this video was helpful for everyone. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.